Council, the candidates, Mr. Alan Fetty and Mr. Ted Fairbanks. And again, welcome back. And I would remind everyone that this is being taped and it'll be replayed on Channel 9. We're going to start with the 2-minute introduction by each of the candidates and then go into some questions. And then we'll conclude about 10-15 minutes from now with closing. Mr. Fetty, you drew the short straw, so if you would do your introductory comments.
It's like a big envelope to me. Thank you, Jim. And thank you, everyone, for coming to tonight's forum. And for those that are watching on TV, I'm glad that you took the time out of your evening to participate with us as well. As Jim said, my name is Al Fetty. I moved to Beatrice in 1973. My wife and I got married in 1975 and have lived here since. We are both retired teachers, both spent a lot of years teaching in the Beatrice public school system. I currently am working in retirement at the Ace Hardware store, and my wife works at Southeast Community College, helping to manage the bookstore. In the 39 years that I've lived here, 29 of those have been involved in city government in one form or another through planning and zoning, or 24 of the last 26 years I've actually served on the Beatrice City Council, 16 years in Ward 4, and the last 8 years I've held this seat in Ward 2. Obviously, I've been very committed to seeing Beatrice progress, seeing Beatrice grow as a community, not necessarily in numbers, but grow as a community in what it can provide to make it a better place. I look forward to continuing that commitment as we progress on, because there are a lot of things that still need to be accomplished to continue to make this community a better place. So I look forward to answering the questions this evening, and anytime anyone has a question, they certainly need to feel free to give me a call, because my phone number's in the paper, and as I've walked the word, I've given my phone number to everyone, so I'm totally open and available. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fetty. Mr. Fairbanks, your openings.
Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate that. I appreciate the people that showed up tonight and had questions, and I want to thank anybody at home that's watching. Educated voters are always a quality voter. So, as Jim said, my name's Ted Fairbanks. My wife and I, Julie, have lived here in Beatrice almost 30 years. We have 2 sons that we raised here. Tim, our oldest, and his wife, Abby. They live in Iowa City, Iowa, with our grandson, very charming young man. He's 11 months old. I have pictures if you would like that. Our youngest son, Lucas, and his wife, Julie, they live in Omaha. They recently married in August. Julie and I have been married for 33 years. We've called Beatrice home the majority of that time. I currently work for United Parcel Service. I'm a delivery driver for UPS. Previous to that, I worked for the Sheriff's Office here. That's what brought Julie and I back to Southeast Nebraska. I worked for the Sheriff's Office in Cheyenne County and Sidney prior to that. But I, like a lot of people here, I've been involved in my community, my church, my different organizations, but I've served on planning and zoning. I've served 4 terms on the city council, but I do believe in term limits. So even if those are self-imposed, I was here for 2 terms. I decided not to run. I set off for 4 years, ran again, served 2 more terms. I've been off for the last 2 years, and I'm running again. I think that being off the council and coming back on gives you a certain amount of perspective that you don't have if you're on for a continued amount of time. So that's it. On with the questions, Jim.
Ted, you get the first question, Mr.
Right.
Fairbanks. And I'm going to mix these up a little bit, so if you were here earlier, you may not hear the same questions. But we'll start with one you did. What's your number 1 priority program or project, and how are you going to pay for it?
Well, I think the city's revenues that they currently have really take care of almost everything that they need, that the city needs. Project or priority, I think the priority is the community as a whole. We have the city has a comprehensive plan that we need to follow. We need to open that up, and we need to read it, and we need to set some priorities, 10 years, 15 years, 5 years, 6 months, and we need to revisit it. And we need to have some kind of a strategic plan and follow it, and to have some kind of a yardstick and to see how we're doing. I think there's always projects and certain things to pay for. If there's something specific, I'm the first guy to think outside the box and try to give you an idea of how we can pay for something. I mean, you just have to look around statewide, nationwide, see how other communities do it, and we can do the same thing. But as a whole, priorities, the city of Beatrice is my priority.
Thank you, Mr. Fairbanks. Mr. Fetty, same question. What is your number one priority program or project, and how would you pay for it?
Well, I know it's probably not going to sound real sexy, but I think one of the things that we have discovered over the last couple of years is that our budget isn't as beautiful as it has been in the past. Revenues were good 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and those revenue streams have really changed a lot in the last 10 years. And it's caused us to have to make some reductions in personnel and make some reductions in what we can do to support other organizations in the community. So along that line, I think what we need to do is to redevelop our budget priorities and to, as was stated earlier, redevelop some of our cash reserves that we've had to dip into to try and maintain some of the programs that we've had in the past. And to do that, I think we have to expand tax base. We need to try to avoid probably the tax that people dislike the most is property. I think we all know that. And we need to try to come up with some tax revenues and an expanded tax base that does not involve that source of revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Fetty. And Mr. Fetty, we'll start with you. If elected, what do you believe to be your role or authority in the day-to-day operation of the city?
I think that's a pretty simple one. Statutorily, we are a legislative body. We're not actually supposed to be involved directly in the day-to-day operations other than in an advisory role. We have a whole slate of administrators and people that operate our various departments. And I quite honestly think that it's what's the word? We're not really meddling, but I don't think we should get terribly involved in the day-to-day operations within those departments. We have people that run those. And if I have an issue, I will discuss that issue with the department head or the city administrator. And I think that's the city council's role. We are a legislative body. We're not an administrative body.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fetty. Mr. Fairbanks, same question. If elected, what do you believe to be your role or authority in the day-to-day operations of the city?
Well, when I'm elected, I don't think I'll treat it any differently than any other time that I've served here. I believe that as a city councilman, you have one employee, the city manager. Everything that you do should go through the city manager. I don't contact department heads. I never have. I'm not that sidewalk superintendent. I don't go and I've never even taken a tour of the Board of Public Works building. My name's on the plaque because I was on the council when we built it, but I've never been through it. We are policy. You sat here, you are policy. You shouldn't have conversations with department heads about their budget. That's not your job. You're paying the city manager $10,000 a month to do it. Let him do it.
Thank you, Mr. Fairbanks. And we're going to go back to you, Mr. Fairbanks, for this next question. Do you feel something should be done to improve code enforcement, particularly regarding absentee property owners?
Yes. And you look at things that other communities do. I know Nebraska City, when their code enforcement officer goes to write any ticket, they send a police officer with them. Just so the people know that it's important and that it is criminal. You look at in different states, they have different state laws, different communities. Some property owners from out of state are charged a higher property tax than in state. But we have a plan in place. Hire a quality city building inspector. Let's get one hired. We don't currently have one. I think it's a priority. Let's get one that the city manager can work with, that the city, the council, he understands their policy and what their procedures are, and let's move forward. It's part of economic development to have your city look like it's growing and clean.
Thank you, Mr. Fairbanks. Mr. Fetty, same question. Do you feel something should be done to improve code enforcement, particularly regarding absentee property owners?
Actually, this is a question that you asked the first group that I was hoping you'd ask us, because it's the one thing that I really, the one department that you asked about and the questions before the group before, that I felt that we really needed to make some improvements within. And code enforcement building inspection is one of those. I think it is extremely important that we become a whole lot more aggressive with code enforcement. And I know people don't like to hear that, and property owners don't like to hear that. But as Ted just said, and I agree with him, if your city looks pretty trashy, people are going to have a poor opinion and image of it. And quite honestly, we have a lot of commercial properties. We have a lot. Walk around our city and look at some of our residential properties. And there are some that we need to become very aggressive on, and we haven't. And that is one area that I really think that we need to become very aggressive on and try to get this community cleaned up, both downtown and residentially.
Thank you, Mr. Fetty. And we're going to come back to you, Mr. Fetty, on this next question. Would you address the appropriateness and/or safeguards for a council member to do business with the city of Beatrice? And have you done business with the city while you've been on the council?
Well, I don't have a business and haven't had a business, so no on the last part. But I have had some people say that my employer shouldn't be able to do business with the city because I work there. And I think that's awfully extreme. We're not a large enough community to exclude people and contractors and or business people from doing business with the city. Lincoln a number of years ago came to that same conclusion, that they weren't large enough, which surprised me. But so no, I think we need to allow people to bid on projects that we do. If people have the expertise to do the work that we need to have done, we should be able to go to them. We have safeguards in place that allow us, particularly if we're bidding on projects, to ensure that nothing is being done improperly or illegally. And I think we've always done a very good job of that, even though many people won't believe you when you try to tell them that. I think we've done a pretty good job in the past. And in some cases, we have contractors that put equipment into buildings for us and then won't maintain them. So we have to go to the people that will do the work for us.
Thank you, Mr. Fetty. Mr. Fairbanks, the same question. Would you address the appropriateness and or safeguards for a council member to do business with the city, and have you done business with the city of Beatrice?
I don't own a business. I work for United Parcel Service. It's a worldwide company. Short of delivering a package here, no, I don't do business with the city. But there is a big problem with that. I think that there's a perception problem. I think there's a real problem. I think people that sit on the council, I think that the mayor, if they have access to department heads, if they have access to budget information, if they have access to procedures that gives them a leg up, I don't think that's fair. Whether that's real or perceived, it causes a problem. If it inhibits anyone from bidding on a project because they don't feel that they're going to get a fair shake, that harms the citizens of Beatrice. That sets us back. We need to have written policy, which we don't, that outlines what can and can't be done. But if you serve on this board, if you're on the city council and you have more access to a department head, the mayor, the city administrator, city attorney, anyone that someone else that's bidding on that same project does, it's simply not fair, and you shouldn't be allowed to bid on it.
Lincoln. Got to cut you off, Ted.
Okay, that's fine.
We're out of time. You've had 4 questions. Let's move into conclusion, your summary remarks, and Mr. Fairbanks, you're first.
Well, once again, I want to thank everyone that has supported me in our ward, not just and in the community. I ran again. I'm running again because I got asked to. I was asked repeatedly by not just the people that live where I live, but all over the community, and I appreciate their support. I was thrilled to death to be the top vote getter coming out of the primary. I hope that trend continues here in November. I just want to tell everybody that the information that they give me doesn't go unheeded. I'm going to try my very best once elected to put all that information and work very hard for not just the citizens that live in my ward, but for the whole community. So thank you again for your consideration. Thank you again for your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Fairbanks. Mr. Fetty, your concluding remarks.
Thanks, Jim. First of all, I want to thank the Chamber for once again sponsoring this forum. I've participated in a number of them over the years, and it's always refreshing to have the Chamber help with this. As I stated in my opening, I've really dedicated myself to serving the community for most of the last 29 years, and I've always prided myself in being one who helps people, returns calls, and does what I can to make life a little bit easier for the people who don't feel they can go to the city to get an answer. I've committed myself to the services that the city provides to our citizens, and our facility maintenance and our infrastructure. And God knows we have a lot of issues going on within our infrastructure systems, water, sewer. Even though Phil's incorrect, we really don't have any wooden sewers anymore. They've been replaced a number of years ago. But we do have a lot of sewers in our system that need to be taken care of. And I do feel that I bring a great deal of experience and knowledge to the job, and would like to continue. I still have that desire to continue representing the people of the Second Ward. And anyone in the community, because we're a small enough community that if anybody comes to you, you help them, regardless of where they live. So I appreciate the opportunity to run again. I appreciate, again, the Chamber's hosting this forum, and I respectfully ask for people's votes from the Second Ward in the election November 6th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fetty. Thank you, Mr. Fairbanks. That concludes the Second Ward forum. And again, we want to thank all of you for attending and continuing to listen. Hopefully you're still up and listening on TV. And get out and vote come November.